Welcome to my humble little office. My name is JThe. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on September 11th, 2023 at approximately 4:21 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the ones I personally live by. I do not like a loose hair flying around. So, as the saying goes, deal with it. Anyway, welcome aboard, people. Before I get into anything, we have Eternity Eternal is in with the gold. Football Cat is in with the silver. And we will see who comes in as we go along. And there we have Raymond L. How we doing? Glad you could join us. You are actually in with the bronze today. And Philip, you are in with the honorable mention. That's just terrible there, Philip. Philip starts off the run with, I want to snuggle with lemur. Just remember, they are a wild animal and don't necessarily cooperate on the cuddle thing. Although some of them can be I do agree with you, many of them are very adorable anyway. Now, before I get into a whole lot, the one thing that I will point out, okay, this may explain why I look at the world the way I do. Okay, now, as requested, we're going to look at the Lemurian Empire and the Lemurian people, which, by the way, links to a whole lot of different things. And we have rain for the first time in, I don't recall when. Yeah, you've been watching kid shows again there, Philip. But well done. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. If you think about it, there is not a person on the planet that I'm aware of that is not a child. As in, every parent, even vat jobs, have a mother and a father. And we're talking when we're looking at binary corporeals. Okay, they've all got a mother and a father. Whether they're born in a vat or not doesn't matter. And I mean, that creates all kinds of complications when you think about it. But let's go back a bit here, shall we? The reason the information that I'm looking at here is actually drawn from my own memories. I remember being here in the Lemurian Empire, and I will walk you through that. That's the easy part. Okay, this is not stuff you're likely to find written down anywhere, aside from what I'm in the process of documenting. Okay, but the Lemurian Empire, in today's world, well, we'll compare that afterwards. The Lemurian Empire, at its peak, about 50,000 years ago, we had literally over 10 billion people on the planet. Okay, so we are not talking about a lack of room here on Earth. Okay, we have well over 10 billion people. I don't honestly know what the final count was. Okay, at least not to start with. Yeah, Philip's going in the 80s and 90s. My great-grandmother's favorite show was Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Beautiful little show, right? It had a lot of fun to it. When I was growing up, it was Mr. Dress Up and, Mr. Dress Up. Sesame Street, I didn't take much to. But the other one that really stood out for me was actually H.R. Puffenstuff in the early 70s. I think it was the early 70s, but we get really badly sidetracked there. Now, 50,000 years ago, we had over 10 billion people. But now, I'll show you. You remember this neat little trick where you take your hands, put them roughly a quarter inch to half an inch apart. Okay, and focus for a minute. You'll feel some sort of energy between your palms. This is the beginning. This is the beginning stages of 0 point energy manipulation. Now, back during Lemuria, during the Lemurian Empire, we had it down to a fine art. If we desired to have something, we just simply thought about it and there it was. And because of the fact that we were all mentally linked, we were not a hive mind. And I think I missed a couple of things here. So, football, Raymond, Philip. Oh no, we got all that. Okay. Joe, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And what do we got here? Yeah, okay. Oh, Joe, in a nutshell, ignore the internet. The governments around the world have been monitoring everything to start with. Okay, before the internet ever came in. We're not a hive mind. Even Lemurians were never a hive mind. That's why I say they weren't a hive mind. We were mentally connected telepathically. So unlike requiring these fine things here, we didn't require phones. We just thought about it and connected. Okay. Now, back then, it had gotten to the point, we had arrived at the point where if we desired a place to live, we just go, I desire to build a place there. Now, here's the things that we're missing. We didn't have jealousy. We didn't have, we didn't have war. We didn't have famine. Okay. What we had was a unified world where pretty much everybody was pushing towards the same goal: peace and tranquility. Okay. And here's how we did. There was envy, but let's be clear. Envy boils down to, hey, I like what you built. How did you go about doing it? Okay, but that's jumping ahead a little. The Lemurian Empire, about 50,000 years ago, we had global communication. Right now I'm sitting in Kelowna. Okay, but at that point, if I wanted to talk to somebody that essentially lived in what is now Australia, I just thought about it and I could reach out. Well, that's the funny thing, Philip. Philip's just saying, I don't like envy when it makes people cruel. Envy doesn't make people cruel. Envy makes people communicative and creative. Jealousy, which is the next step in envy, is what makes people cruel or encourages them to be cruel. And during the Lemurian days, we didn't have any jealousy. And Chad, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And where are we here? I saw him come in. No, there we are. No, in all fairness, Chad, I'm not going to go into it. The weekend is not what I would consider a good one. But that's a topic for a different day. In any event, with the Lemurian Empire, we were mentally connected. Now, that was 50,000 years ago. Way before some people seem to think mankind came around. Again, there's a whole lot that went on before they got here. But you take that 0 point energy, which is literally, you feel that energy between your hands. Go ahead, give it a try, give it a shot, and experience the energy flow. Okay. Now, what ended up happening, was everything went fine. If we desired a place to live, we went, oh, I'd like a house right there. Right. And, we didn't have this problem with government saying, oh, the planet belongs to us, because Lemurians believed that the planet belonged to everybody. Well, more to the point, we were all caretakers for the same planet. There was no concept of a first world, second world, third world country. Okay. It was just one people, and they went through their own troubles to start with. But 50,000 years ago, they had arrived at that wonderfully adorable point of going, we're all on this planet. We all have to live here. We all have to deal with it. Okay, so from that standpoint, Lemurians, we went, okay, I'd like to live here. So you went, there's where I'm building my little home. But because that worked well, because of the fact that we were working together, we would stay linked up most of the time. Could we disconnect? Yes. But because we were such an open people, the layout of the house, everybody knew the layout of everybody's house. But it was that memory that enabled us to actually sleep and leave the place in order. Now, the neat little part about it, the neat little part about that is we turned around, and if we desired something, you just created it. Somewhere around that point, we started getting bored with the fact that there was no effort at all. Okay, the problem with today's society is there's still no effort to speak of, but people are expecting everything to change. Okay, they're expecting things to change. In Lemuria, we started to get bored and went, okay, because we can create anything, be it something like a complex machine, just a simple apple, which, by the way, is a lot more complex than a machine. Okay, we just think and there it was. So as a people, some of us turned back to the creative side. But our belief in the creative side was this. You take a couple of stones, you stack them up together, you go, that's my sculpture. It would evolve beyond that as we went on. But we turned to simple things like weaving. Okay, where you just took blades of grass and started weaving. And we let it evolve. Eventually, we got very good at it. But we refused, as artists, to just go, oh, I'd like a sculpture like what we know as the ancient sculpture by Leonardo da Vinci called David. We wouldn't turn around and go, gee, I can see it, so let's just make it happen. We went, okay, let's develop the ability to deal with it. And we went back. We had to go back and learn how to do things like draw the iron out of the earth in order to be able to make the tools and carry forward. As you can well imagine, this took a fair chunk of time. Oh, heavens, Joe. Way back in the 70s, I was telling people, look, you walk into a government office, and we're talking back in the early 1970s. So we're talking, 50 years ago here. And I told people, you walk into a government office, not only can they tell you how much money you've got in your pocket, but they will tell you how much of each denomination you've got in your pocket. Okay. Now, I was told I was paranoid, that I was nuts, and you know the list. Until the early 2000s. Okay. 30 years earlier, I was telling people this. 30 years down the road, the early 2000s, and on either W5 or 60 Minutes or one of these new shows, the Canadian government came out, and not only did they say, yes, we've been tracking it since the 70s, they showed people how they were doing it. Okay, now to me, this is not paranoia. This is just insight. Okay, insight, foresight, call it what you will. But they've been tracking it that long. Okay, now don't kid yourself. They've got satellites out there. They're not kidding when they say they've got satellites that can pinpoint what somebody is wearing on the beach. Okay, they can look from orbit and they've got high enough technology that is human built that you can see what somebody's wearing on the beach. Okay. Now, the neat part there, okay, is this is what people are worrying about. Oh my gosh, the government's going to know. Newsflash, guys, the government already knows. And I will tell you, if you're not doing anything fundamentally wrong, it really doesn't matter. Okay, the government for civilization to evolve has to exist. Albeit it would be nice if they actually followed the same rules they make. Okay, but back during the time of Lemuria, of the Lemurian Empire, we also had rules and laws and what have you. We just didn't like the hassle of breaking the laws, so we didn't bother. Because at that point, the laws that were made were followed and enforced even against the people in the government. If a member of parliament did, of what we'll call parliament, did something that was wrong, they were confronted on it with the same veracity and with the same ferocity that a street dweller had. Now, of course, to be clear, back in Lemuria, we didn't actually have a whole lot of people living on the street. Primarily because, well, we went, don't want to live on the street anymore. I'm building my own home. And then if somebody liked where you were building, they just go, I'm building one right on top of yours. We ended up with 200-story buildings without even blinking. Okay, and they go up like that. Okay, this was not something that took a lot of time. And Shadow, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Come to think, if I forgot to do something here. Now, let's see if it's there. Yeah, well, take the time when I'm actually not tied up. I love people who just don't listen. I get so many of them. Where is my video run? There. Move that over the way, because the reason that paused me is because I forgot to open this one up, or more to the point, I forgot to keep it open. And we had Chad come in first. So, as per usual, what we're going to do, aside from being, we did. Okay, we'll solve that in a minute. This is the link to Chad's archives. Absolutely drop in, give them a listen. Again, on the off chance he does get back to printing. Okay. When he does get back to filming again, at least you'll know they're coming up. That being said, we also had Shadow and Sun coming in. And where is Shadows? Okay, and this is the link to Shadow Scream. And again, drop in, give him a listen. You like what he has to say, give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. Okay, it's this kind of interaction that that we can turn this world around. Now, I know this can be done because I remember living in Lemuria, living during the Lemurian Empire. Now, what happened in the Lemurian Empire? Because you see virtually no physical evidence of it. Okay, we started building the artwork and what have you using primitive tools. Like I said, woven grass. We figured out how, once again, to do things like your tanning and what have you. Animals and that sort of thing. Now, so life had taken off. There was no problem. But about 45,000 years back, roughly, Lemurians went, hey, we can see something's going to go a little sour. And a bunch of them, not all of them, but a chunk of them, put together starships. Okay, they left Earth and took with them the ability they took that manifestation ability with them over to what we now know as Mobius. Okay, now Mobius is a planet that is it is not a Caboran. It is a straight planet. Okay, but it was set in motion on the other side of the sun in the exact same orbital path as Earth. So people on Earth will never see Mobius without a satellite going out to do it, or a starship going out past the moon, or far enough out that you can actually see it over there. But from Earth, you'll never see it. Problem: 45,000 years ago, Lemurians colonized Mobius. Then about 40,000 years ago, and we never did figure out what happened. We never figured out if it was male, female, adult, child, grandparent. Didn't know. But somebody came up with this brilliant idea that, hey, what would happen if we all stopped our hearts at precisely the same moment? Well, none of us had done it. So we're sitting there and didn't think very far on this one. Sitting there going, hey, not a bad idea. Why don't we give it a shot and just see? Because, like I said, we had become bored. Right? So we turned around and everybody stopped their hearts. Unfortunately, now understand, the whole of civilization is built on mental cohesion. We thought about it, therefore it was there, and everybody's belief that it was there held it together, providing the originator of it was still alive. But unfortunately, when we all shut our hearts down, half of us, in other words, round about 5 billion people, died instantaneously. Okay, now, I can't give you the number breakdown, but I will tell you panic ensued. Because think about it. You take a 200-story building, and the middle 50 stories go away. Those other 50 stories up on top, or 75 stories or whatever, okay, above, are now going to plummet 500 feet onto the ones below. So we went, you take that kind of instantaneous problem. Some people managed to get their heart started. Some got them started right away. They were fine in a way. Some got them started, but not fast enough to avoid the collapse. So we went with civilization just literally crashing. Okay. And we dropped as near as we could figure from about 10 billion people to about 10,000 people. But at the same time, we frightened ourselves so badly that we wouldn't communicate telepathically. So here we got 10,000 people-ish scattered around the globe, totally isolated from each other. Okay, striving to dig out of the rubble, striving to cope with everything, including that neat little problem of we didn't even have all of our food stuff sorted out. Okay, so yes, some of the surviving Lemurians became cannibalistic. Okay, in a period of less than 2 years, we dropped from 10 billion to 10,000. When you take into consideration the instantaneous death and the resulting disease and illness and what have you, and if you've watched, okay, Mother Nature is quick. There was a show, and I forget what the show was called, that showed how quickly nature reclaims ground. Well, all of a sudden there was all this open territory, and Mother Nature, who I know as JThe, went to work reclaiming the ground. Okay, what have we got here? Oh, that's Talk Chat. Let's get that to live so we can actually keep an eye on it. Now. Oh, I do appreciate the extra. Sorry, I froze the one thing there, Emmy. Football. You've asked, do animals create life contracts like humans? The answer is yes. They absolutely do. The addition to that is that animals also end up going to what you consider purgatory, heaven, hell, whatever you call it. Okay, animals still go there. So yes, for those of you that have pets or have plants even that you like, when they die, they're going there in the same place. You get to meet them afterwards. But yes, they absolutely have that kind of contract. Now let's scroll down and see. Got that one. Nathan. Yeah, Nathan is asking, do you remember in your past lives, society ever becoming obsessed with sexual identity? Identity, no. But I do remember Sodom and Gomorrah quite well. And contrary to some people's belief, it really did work out that way. But they weren't worried about sexual identity. They were just worried about sexual gratification. This issue of sexual identity right now is literally a way for people, because society has collapsed so badly at this point, people are finding new and exciting ways to make their world seem even more different than what it was. Football. You're asking, should we pray for animals upon death to keep them out of purgatory? Absolutely not. And here's why. Purgatory, what you know is purgatory, is where everybody goes, and I mean everyone from every species, every vibratory rate, every race, all of them, all end up in what you call purgatory. That's where you decide what your next life is going to look like. So we definitely do not desire them not to get there. Okay, purgatory is not a sentence of confusion. It is literally a planning place. It's where people go, where animals go to decide what their next step is. Okay, and you all get the same option. Now, if you want to pray for them to have a safe journey, absolutely. Okay, now let's be clear. If you're going to pray over somebody, animal, plant, person, doesn't matter. If you're going to pray over them, okay, make sure you're praying spelled P-R-A-Y and not P-R-E-Y. Okay, but I will encourage you to do this. Treat all animals, all plants, all people, and you'll notice I said all, like you desire to be treated yourself. Okay, Lemurians, when they ended up passing and when society collapsed, they got scattered. And because we were such an isolated people, you'll find Lemurians ended up getting in, connecting with such neat little communities that you're aware of, like the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Aborigines in Australia, the native peoples of the different areas. We got scattered all over, including into what became Atlantis, okay, and inner Earth. We got scattered all the way across the way. Okay, World, how you doing? Glad you could join us. World Bigfoot Radio has shown up here. And with that in mind, this is the link to World's show, to World's live stream. So drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do come right out and give him a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of it. Now, where are we here? Philip is going, Sodom and Gomorrah was Lot trying to find righteous people who would be kind to the stranger. Ultimately, the whole thing is this. Okay, the short answer is yes, because people have gotten so much into the debauchery. And do understand, this is the second time that it happened. It happened way back when Moses came off of Mount Sinai. Okay. Uh-oh. I have no idea how to do that. Just to be clear. Where is my sound? I am just trying to figure out where the heck it went. Oh. Oh, perfect. Thanks for the confirmation there, world. Because honestly, I'm completely out to lunch on this. Although, my son was kind enough. I have no idea how this works yet. But my son picked up well, I actually bought it, but he found a microphone to connect, and I just got to get him to take the time to do it. So we are striving to upgrade. Now, the whole thing here, okay, when we look at Lemuria, we got scattered all over the existing world, never mind the newer one. Yeah, I haven't even opened it, so I'm not even certain how big it is. But this was my son's got this one, and he says it works well for him. Let me just see here. But let's be clear. You know, when we look at Lemuria was an accident. You know, just to be clear. The end of the Lemurian Empire was very much a curiosity accident. You know, you've heard the old saying, curiosity killed the cat. Oh, thanks for clarifying that there, Nathan. But with Lemuria, it was literally curiosity that created our problem. Where it came to coming down off Mount Sinai, that is a topic that, like I said, I'm not going to go into it in a lot of detail here. If there is somebody, if you guys know somebody that has a channel that does focus on Christianity and on the teachings of the Bible and what have you, if you actually want to hear my overall view of it, that's where you get somebody to invite me, because I don't go looking for them. I am looking for people to talk about my books and that sort of thing, but what the heck? But yeah, I figure, you know, we mix Coke and coffee. That should help. Should kill the problem with energy levels, or drive our diabetic level. And no, we don't believe we're diabetic. Doctors can't even figure it out. But Lemurians got scattered across the world, and hence we end up with all kinds of different types of similarities in technological advancements. It's because the peoples were all over the place. Okay, but we had literally eliminated we eliminated war. There was no war ever, right? Once we got to a certain point, war, it wasn't that it was abolished. We just didn't see a point to it. Okay, because it didn't do a thing for the economy. The creative talents went way overboard. We did not really, I mean, we got to some pretty decent levels. The other thing you got to remember is, for all intents and purposes, Lemurians were immortal. Okay, because they didn't die. They didn't get ill. There was no point to it. We'd go, gee, I feel a little off today. I think I'll just get rid of that. And we did. So, of course, the medical profession was a little lacking. Okay, but we also believed that we were all capable of it. We also had that other neat little issue that there was no religion per se, like all these different factions and different denominations. Okay, Lemurians believed in God, but they also believed they also believed that God was not to be worshipped. You respected him because he had phenomenal capacity. And I'm just scooting down here. Honestly there, Philip, I really don't know. You know, Philip's just asking, who would you like to have interview you? If we are already fans there, we can recommend you. I have no idea what what groups actually deal with that. I really don't. So, as far as who it is, to my way of thinking, I appreciate the question. Don't get me wrong. To my way of thinking, I don't have a preference. Okay. It's just an issue of this is one of those few topics I won't debate. I won't go into a lot of detail here because it will get me in way too much trouble. I'm just not interested in getting in that much trouble. By the way, this works really well. It's a wonderful way to travel. Very relaxing, not bumpy at all. That's your side useless note for the day. Ultimately correct, but that's actually being propagated by not only the younger generation, but the older generation is doing the same thing. Okay, what people have to remember is every single one of you listeners, every one of you, myself included, is a child. Okay, I don't care how old you are. If you had a male and female counterpart, because the human race, hate to be the one to pop people's bubble, but the human race is a dual gender, not it is not multiple genders. There are not 50 different genders. You may feel, you may connect in a different way, but every one of you that is in a human body, I hate to be the one to pop you and pop this bubble for you, and I know this is going to tick somebody off. Okay, you look at your physical configuration. Primarily, people are either male or female. There are those few unfortunates and I call it unfortunate because it can be a little confusing in today's world. Some are born with both genders. Okay, and that can be confusing. But you're only dealing with two. Okay, the human race is a dual gender race. It's just that simple. Okay, but, and then, yes, that is my opinion. Absolutely. If anybody has ever found a way to convince me of much, I'm still missing a lot of it. Yes. And I don't mind the scientific side of it. Okay. And again, this is one of those topics that we could go down a really deep rabbit hole. Okay. And I'm going to leave the rabbit holes to Raven. Yo. Well, yeah. I mean, you think about it. If you think about it there, Philip, the people in positions of power have long striven to wipe out people that have suggested you learn to think. Okay, but in Lemuria, we looked at it and went this. We believed wholeheartedly in God. Absolutely. And personally, I still do. In this lifetime, I also wholeheartedly believe in Jesus Christ. But back then, again, I still hold the same belief structure, by the way. They did not worship a God. They respected them, they honored them, but they did not worship them. Okay, it just didn't fit, so they didn't bother. Now, without getting into too much of a bizarre concept there, Philip. I just read this. My cat is intersex. He looks male, but was born without, and what you've got is cherries here. The question is not, was he born without those? Okay, some males are born without those. The question is, was he born with the other organs in place? Football. The answer is absolutely yes. Across the mammalian board, and don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Across the mammalian board, roughly 4% of mammals, and I mean humans, apes, elephants, whales, and carry on with the list. Roughly 4% of them are gay. Okay. Now, some people say that was a mistake by God. Well, 4% of your population being ruined, being made not correctly in some people's eyes, that's one heck of a mistake. Okay. From what I've seen, no. But I have seen, I grew up on a hobby farm, and we have white chickens. But periodically you get a black chicken. Okay, born from the same white parents. And this is one of the things that led to my belief that skin color didn't matter. Okay, you're all the same peoples. But the chickens that we had, the white ones would absolutely target the black ones. Absolutely. So does prejudice exist in the animal kingdom? The answer is yes. I've never even heard of Truth Social, in all fairness, in there, Joe. The nice part about it, what is this? World's going, atrazine in the environment is causing sexual dysmorphia and genetic defects. Well, there we go. And that's the piece of information. That kind of information, world, is what I leave you guys to do, because I don't go researching it. Oh, hey, Semper Fi there, Black Dragon. Here's the other neat little part. We talked about mammals, but I did, when I was doing the research at that point, I did used to. I found the black swan, roughly 49% of them, 49% that were studied were gay. Okay, so it is not a new environment. Okay, it does not make somebody better or worse. It is just who they choose to crawl into bed with. And I've got my own preference, and it stays that way. Okay, but I'm kind of picky where it comes to a few things. But the Lemurians' outlook on peace, okay, is precisely why I take a look at, when I'm dealing with people, it's like, you're all equal in my eyes. Okay. And I'm referring to I'm referring to you as an individual. Some people have perceptions that I certainly will not stand behind, and I won't tolerate myself. Okay. Fortunately, in this chat room, what I found in this live stream, everybody turns around, on the whole, and supports everybody else. Raven, glad you could join us. So there is no doubt, because you got to remember, Lemurians are human. Okay, they absolutely are. Okay, and I say are because there's still a few left. Okay, but they are hiding. Absolutely. Now, one of the things you got to remember is there's a lot of ways that can take place. World just adding some more scientific information for us. And thank heavens we've got a scientist like World in here, because there's no way I'm going to come up with this information, because I'm just flat out not going to take the time to look it up. Okay. But we can safely, I do agree with you there, World. World's just added here, this is the reason why there are more gay people in every generation. 100 years ago, it was 2% or less, by the way. And then we have chemical castration. According to Lemurians, Black magic didn't exist. Did they work with magic? Absolutely. But the definition of black and white magic literally boiled down to whether or not you were doing something to hurt somebody, okay, or to, put yourself in a better position than other people. White magic was used to benefit other people. So because we had no jealousy, because we had no war, there was no need for black magic, as in I'm going to control what you're doing by forcibly making you do it. That kind of black magic just didn't exist anymore. Okay, we wiped it out. Magic itself, however, was left in full force. Do understand, though, and I think it was Einstein that said it, and somebody's likely to correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think it was Einstein that put it and that said, when you push technology to its ultimate level, there is little difference between it and magic. And Ange, welcome aboard, by the way, Ange. The answer there is yes. They did work with crystals. They did work with focusing stones, with various different forms of natural realignment in order to amplify what they were capable of. Okay, but understand that was a downgrade to where we had arrived. We had evolved way past that to the point of instant physical manifestation. Then we went back and figured out how to do it. How to do it the hard way. Okay, and there is definitely something to be said about putting physical effort into getting something accomplished than just having it done. You name the type of magic there, football, and absolutely they used it. But get this, what we used to do is this. I'm looking to work with candle magic, to work with fire magic. Now I've got a flame on my thumb, and I'm going to concentrate on that. Did we have the capacity to do a lot of things? Absolutely. Oh, heavens. The sad part there, world, is the whole idea of the witch and warlock and werewolf trials. In Lemuria, everybody could do it. If you desired to look like a wolf, you just went, I'm going to be a wolf today, and you take on the physical form of a wolf. Okay, but without the fear, without the anger, without the jealousy, you didn't have that idea of losing control of your mind and going around killing people. Philip's going, the British locked up a mathematician who led the team that cracked the Nazi Germany's Enigma code. He was locked up because he was a gay man. Well, and this is the whole thing. Humans decided that the people in power decided, if you don't agree with the way I see it, okay, then you're evil and therefore need to be punished. This is what led to the fall of the monarchies. It's what led to the fall of the Roman Empire. It's what led to the fall of Egypt. Get the picture? There's kind of a consistency here in case you hadn't noticed. That's a good way of putting it. And the really neat part about it, especially in today's world, okay, you got to remember, Lemurians were of various colors, but the reason they were of various colors was the same reason humans are. You grow up in a certain environment, and your skin color will change. Okay. If you're in the sun too long, your skin's going to go dark. It's just that's either that or it's going to go red. And that's usually far more painful than going dark. Unless it gets dark and bubbly and crispy, at which point somebody put you on the spit. Not a good place to hang around, by the way. So we are looking at a civilization that used to, it was a what do we got? What do we got? Nathan goes, How many societies have broken and away and stayed gone? I have no way of giving you an answer to that number. I can tell you I did find out firsthand, as in watched them do it. There was a race years and years and years ago, that I bore witness to the consortium's way of dealing with people trying to create a problem on Earth. Okay, there was a race way back before you guys ever heard of off-worlders. Okay, way before the Eniod even got here. Okay, that tried enforcing their law on Earth. They tried taking Earth as their own. But do understand the consortium wasn't in the area at the time. So they came down, and I will have to look back through my notes to let you know what the race was. Okay, but I will tell you that when they came down, they tried to take care of it. The consortium showed up and went, no, you're vacating. You're not gods. You're vacating. Okay, they did the same thing with the Eniod and the Norse gods, the Roman gods, the Greek gods. The consortium did the same thing with them several centuries later. But this particular race turned around and went, we're not leaving. So the consortium was real quick to deal with it. They went, look, get off Earth. Get off of Esau. Leave her alone and leave her peoples alone right now. Okay. And because these were new members of the consortium. So they turned around and said, no. We're allowed to do this because you said in our charter that we can live our life our way. And, so we're not leaving. So the consortium turned around, blew up the planet that their primary, secondary, and tertiary governments were on. Just completely blew them apart. Net result, that race got dropped out of the consortium. It was no longer spacefaring. It was no longer even a unified government. What have we got here? Philip's just adding, where are we here? Philip is going, tribal people in Panama tattooed their skin darker to help protect them from the sun. And this is the whole thing. I don't know about you. Now, in my case, I don't burn much. Of course, a little hard to burn. I stay indoors most of the time now. But Lemurians realized that whatever color you were didn't matter. What your physical configuration was didn't matter. You'll notice on Earth that humans have various modified configurations. Orientals tend to have slanted eyes. The African peoples tend to be darker skinned, as do the Middle Easterners. Okay. A lot of Westerners originally, well, let's face it, they were most of them were Dutch or English to start with, and ended up over here with a paler skin color. Let's face it, in England, if you get a day of sunshine, from what I gather, that's a real neat commodity. Rare, but neat. Okay, Nathan's going, rephrase. Have you ever known breakaway societies that formed then left and are still out there as spacefaring people? The answer to that is yes. There are some satellite groups that are out there, small pockets of people that got off Earth or got off another planet and have formed their own little family and are not members of the consortium because it's just not, they don't have a world to be a member of. But there are absolutely free runners out there that live by their own rules. Of course, these same free runners aren't about to take on. Yeah, that kind of concept is very real there, Philip. Let's face it. When they blew up the 3 planets, there were people that were not on those planets that were on long-range starships at the time. When the Sarkon had to cut and they actually spent years getting ready for it. When they had to cut loose the other societies, the Kamalians, the Thessalians, and the Tormenon, the Sarkon said, look, we're going to have to leave you go. We just cannot continue. So here's all the equipment we can get over to you, and we will give you as much training as we can until this period. At which point, they didn't back it up. They didn't postpone it longer. They just went, we're done. Okay. But yes, things like what you used to see in Battlestar Galactica are real. Okay. They do exist. Do you see a lot of them around here? No. Can't imagine why not. So we're absolutely looking at a lot of people. There are a lot of different things going on. Okay, a lot of different races. And by the way, a humanoid, a bipedal configuration, is not as stable as you might think. Okay. Nathan's going, how can I contact them? Did they ever come around here perceived as our own human races? Actually, Nathan, it's really not that complicated. The answer to your question is, and I can only say I surmise that, yeah, there is no doubt some of them come and drop in. Understand, there are some Mobians that didn't stay locked on Mobius. Okay. And with that in mind, they look exactly like humans. Well, it makes sense. They are human. Okay, they just happen to colonize Mobius. And yeah, them, I know some of them will show up here periodically. It's kind of like when you go camping. Okay, when humans go camping, from a first world country, so-called first world country, you go camping, you go to the outback where you don't have the internet, you don't have, you're flushing your indoor plumbing, right? And you go out into the outback. Well, Mobians do the same thing. Okay, we're going to this world that is very much backwater. They don't have the amenities we've got, and they just simply make a commitment that no, we're going to go there, but we're not going to give people the tools to change their world. They're going to have to do it on their own. Okay, and again, because of the laws the Mobians have, and because of what they've seen, what happened in their own past, there is no way that they're going to turn around and go, oh, I came from another planet, and here's the way to manifest instantly. Here's how you can shut down somebody's nervous system just by thinking about it. Now, humans can do this. Okay, you've already got that capacity. But why put it to use? That'd be the big thing there. And yes, the flip side of that question, will some of the ancient races, will people like the Lemurians, if they get into a position, or will the off-worlders come and pick up select people and say, hey, let's go skim the Milky Way and show you what that's really like. Some of you have dreams of doing this, and you're questioning, did this really happen? The odds are, quite frankly, yes. Okay, in all likelihood, it did. Okay, can I prove it? Not a snowball's prayer. Okay, but I can tell you, whatever your imagination is telling you, the odds are there is a particle of truth to it. But have the Lemurians ever managed to evolve back to the level they used to be at? Frankly, no. But a lot of that is self-imposed fear. When you do that kind of damage to a society, when you're directly responsible for wiping out a society of 10 billion people, it does tend to make people a little edgy. And as you can see, I still have problems remembering to shut that door. But hey, I was trying to do that. Oh, this is brilliant, guys. Look at this. Now, here's the size of box they shipped. There's no packing material in it, but that's what they shipped. Now, why, pray tell, pack a box that big to have one this big inside it with nothing else? Like, where's the rationality to it? Really? But this is the mic that my son picked up. It's the same one he used. He said works like it, and that works fine for him. So, I'm just curious. Welcome, this is what's called early Christmas. No, it really isn't. I have no idea what this is going to work like, but there's the monster that we're talking about. And you'll love the name of it. For those of you that know anything about it, there you go. That's the one that I'm going to end up getting hooked up. But I have no idea how that all works. That's going to be something that my son's going to put together for me. Well, if you think about it, any microphone almost is. Nathan, this is why I told my son find one that he can get working, and then I'll get him to figure it out. His works fine, so it shouldn't be that hard for him. For me, this is one of the reasons why I don't have a mic plugged in anymore, is because there were too many hiccups with it. I have no idea, Philip. That's the first time as you saw, I just opened it. But I mean, from my standpoint, I look at the name Yeti, and I think Bigfoot up in the snowbanks, but, it's the same idea. I don't doubt that at all there, Nathan. Nathan's just saying, nobody believes me, but my Guitar Hero USB mic works fantastic. The controller that I use to play the few games I do play on my computer, I use the Xbox controller, USB. And that works out very nicely. But as I've made very clear, or tried to anyway, yeah, that could be there, Philip. But no, the reality of, but no. Yeah, my English is really gooder today. So I'm going to speak into better English later. But, the reality of it is I've seen on Earth, and I do not expect you to believe it, and that's okay because I can't prove it anyway. But I've seen Earth with 100% peace on the planet. This can be done. Okay. The question is, do you as individuals desire it to be done? Okay. I found greed wasn't really functional. It was kind of dysfunctional in a lot of ways. Jealousy never did anything for me. I tried it once. I experienced it once this lifetime. Went, don't like that feeling. No, we'll get rid of it. Never suffered from it again. Although, as my one shirt tells you, I don't deal with stupidity well. But the Lemurian Empire had evolved to a phenomenal level, the likes of which in the last 50,000 years I have not seen. Okay. And in all fairness, I haven't seen it happen on other planets either. By the way, the neat part there, when we start taking a look at that, like I've been asked, well, did the Lemurians, did they get here before the Atlanteans? Well, the answer is yeah, they really did. Okay, way before. But you got to understand, the reason that people called the Atlanteans was because their ship that they arrived in was called the Atlantia. Okay. And when they were asked where they came from, they said we're from the Atlantia, and they were misunderstood, probably because of accent. Oh, Raven, I appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that. Because I'm just, it's a question of making certain that everything works properly. And for me, that's a bit of an interesting challenge. I just have to figure out where to plug things in. But that's okay. I'll leave that to my son. He'll be fine with it. But, when the Atlanteans got here, they showed up on a ship called the Atlantia. So, of course, when they were asked, where are you from? They went, we're from Atlantia. And people thought they said they were Atlantean, they were Atlanteans. So that worked out well. But from that standpoint, they ended up here, and they came in way after the Lemurians had disappeared. However, some of the Lemurians that were left behind did connect with the Atlanteans and joined their crews to get off the world, primarily because they didn't want to be here anymore. Raven goes, if I can work it, you certainly can. Phelps just going, stupidity gives me stress that gives me gas. I had a not good math teacher. My loudest and longest incident of flatulence was in his math class. I believe that falls under the category of oops. But no, the reality of it is I don't like stress much. And of course, yesterday I had to dump the program, the show yesterday, because none of the computers were working properly for me. And therefore, it just seemed a practical thing to just step back and go, I'm not going there. It was far better than trying to fight with it. For me, it boils down to this. I have one of two choices. Now, yes, I did return to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. This is why I came back. I've been here a number of lifetimes before where I've tried to do the same thing. And without exception, it's ended up not being all that great for me. Humans have this thing about, we want to do it our way. We want to do it our way, and therefore you can't tell us what to do. Well, as the saying goes, you cannot fix stupid. Okay, and I cannot straighten out other people. All I can do and all I'm going to do is turn the lights on and go, this is where we're heading, this is where you're heading, if you stay on the path you're on. Okay. Let's see. Black Dragon's going, my old computer, I put a USB bar in that had 10 USB plugins. I've got one right now that has 7. Okay, and a couple of those I can actually free up in a heartbeat. Which is what I'll end up doing, because it works fine from my end. And the fact of the matter is my computer on the whole works reasonably well. But how things are going to evolve, I don't know. I know what I'm aiming at. Now, there's a principle with a sense of humor, as it were. I remember having a grade 3 teacher that would get mad at us for making noise during recess. So there's always teachers that are a little bit screwy. There's always parents that are a little bit off kilter. There are exceptions to every rule. Am I going to try and explain why I cannot see the world the way other people do? I could one day, but it is physically impossible for me. And though I don't have the medical records to back it up, most of you wouldn't understand the medical records anyway. Heck, most people can't read the doctor's writing, never mind the records. Okay, but the reason I say we can have peace on this planet is because I've seen it with another 25% more people than what we've currently got. Okay, and I know I get flack for this when I go, there is no shortage of food, there is no land shortage. We got lots of land. Go for a drive. If you got a piece of property where there's not a building on it, we've still got land. Okay, ever go flying over the United States, Canada, or any one of the European countries, European or African, doesn't matter. There's always land around them. Now, granted, I personally wouldn't want to live in the Sahara Desert right now, but then I didn't want to live in the Sahara Forest when it was here several millennia back. And yes, the Sahara Desert did used to be a forest. It used to be. I do hate the hiccups. It used to be a rainforest. But things do change. And the question you have to ask is, are you content with the way your world is right now? I went down to the post office today. Right. Well, at least he was consistent, Black. I look at the world today and go, no, there are land sharks there, Philip. There really are. Okay, thankfully, they don't tend to come to the surface anymore. But are there land sharks? Yes. Are they, there are not that I've ever heard of there's not a fire-breathing duck. Although in D&D we had one that we had to deal with. That was funny. But the reality is we all come from from whatever brought you to where you are right now. We all have the same situation. We're right here, right now, and this is the only time we can make things change. Okay. The thing we have to remember is what we are not short of is greed, fear-mongering, control issues, okay, and identity crises. We have no shortage of those. There seems to be enough of those to go around. Needless to say, I think what's happening is we've ended up, and this is going to sound really rude, so I'll apologize ahead of time, but I think the reason we end up with people with with multiple personalities is because there were too many personalities available and not enough vehicles to put them in. Just a different way of looking at things. One of the biggest things we have to remember is if we as individuals out of this live stream go out and spread this message, which is why I've asked, if you've got an idea for a topic, absolutely let me know. Okay, and we'll get it worked in. But the reality is, if you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. We've got to start actively looking at turning this around. Turning this world around in spite of what the people in positions of power are currently telling you. We have the ability to do it. Okay, it's up to you to decide, are you going to buy into the fear? You have to work within the laws that are laid out. Do understand, this is absolutely imperative. Because I don't know about you, but the headaches of going against the written law aren't worth it. And Phil's just going, how many personalities do you have? One. Really bad one, but I've only got the one. I was actually tested. Okay, I've actually been tested for multiple personality disorder. That was one of the things I went through testing for twice. Okay, but I do have a unique situation. Okay, a very complicated one, but no, it's simply a question of having one personality, one driver, if you will. Okay, but am I according to modern sciences, the land sharks didn't exactly die. What they did, they didn't cease to exist. Okay, now for those of you that don't know what land shark is, might be able to show you. Give me a second. One of the advantages of having all these figures, this, according to D&D, is a land shark. Okay, also known as a bulette. Okay, now, because of the fact, for obvious issues, when it comes to writing, okay, I had to come up with a different name. And when you're reading the Yldrbac Chronicles, okay, what I ended up calling this guy, let's see if I can actually get him in here. And apparently not, so I'm just not going to worry about it right now. In the Yldrbac Chronicles, I actually changed the name of this little guy that is a bulette in D&D, a land shark in layman's terms, and in the Yldrbac Chronicles, I call it a terror ram, also known as an earth ram. Okay, because this thing swims through the earth and does its thing that way. Well, the reality is you get all sorts of people, and we can cover that sort of thing as well. The neat part about it is this is all, the things I'm seeing set as examples are all, they're all based on fear of the individual propagating the problem. But no, essentially what happened when way back, okay, these were literally a prehistoric animal. Okay. And if you go looking into paleontology, you will find reference to creatures that look similar to this, that literally were underground burrowers. Okay. And much like the modern day worms, they close the hole up behind them. Yes, literally, Philip, it swims, like you obviously know what swimming is. It does exactly the same thing, but cutting through earth, through dirt, and dirt it moves like wildfire. Going through bedrock slows it down a little. Okay, and yes, they have been known to punch a hole in the side of a caldera, quite by accident. And well, needless to say, they don't survive that one very well. Caldera, for those of you that don't know what that is, it's a bubble inside a volcano just before the volcano erupts. Well, needless to say, if a land shark punches a hole in the side of a caldera, well, the caldera won't blow up, but it'll certainly dump all the lava on the poor thing's head. But yeah, humans are limited in a lot of ways. they think that what you're doing is that you cannot swim through the ground. And by the way, I don't swim through the ground. Of course, I don't swim through the water either anymore. But ultimately, it's the same thing. You're still going through and going between individual molecules. Yes, I realize that humans are a complex form. Doesn't change the reality of it is. Joe, in my opinion, if you're dead, and I told my other half this, if I die before she gets up here, I'm not marrying her. And I recommend that if she dies, I told her if she dies, I'm not marrying her. And I recommend if your proposed wife dies on you, do not go through with the ceremony. Okay, but we also have to remember that you have to remember that when we are dealing with this whole idea till death do us part, we are talking about the death of the emotional connection. Yeah. Nathan goes, limited can be another way of saying focused, filtering out other things to focus on certain things. Absolutely. From my standpoint, truth be told, about a decade ago, I was dealing with a pair of centurions. The guy was 106, the girl was 103, and they were getting married. Fortunately, it was beautiful the way it went down. They were both getting married for the first time. And some do. In all fairness, Black Dragon, some of the off-worlders can do that, especially the elementals. Okay, the Cordon, for instance, are your Earth elementals, and they will cut through the Earth without even blinking. Why does that look odd? Oh, just because it stands out further. But no, as long as you're still breathing, you're not too old to get married. I do have a personal view on the age difference thing. But for me, I don't care about the age difference between people. I just made the decision for me personally that I would not date somebody that was the same age as my son. I just wouldn't go. I mean, I don't care if people date somebody younger than them. Many times, here's the funny thing. Philip goes, since iron will keep the Fae from taking us, will iron keep whatever aliens are from taking us? Not any more than tinfoil will. But here's the thing. If the Fae really want to take somebody, iron may stop a Fae. But it's certainly not going to stop the people that the Fae know. If a Fae contacts a Cordon, all the iron in the world may just look like a snack. Okay. So I mean, you're looking at that kind of a situation as well. But no, there is no mineral on Earth that will stop. As a matter of fact, there's no mineral that I know of that will stop the off-worlders on the whole of taking somebody. Now, there are certain things that will stop them. For instance, you engulf yourself in flames, you can bet your bottom dollar a Waylaw will have nothing to do with you. Okay. Neither will the Wayland. Of course, in all fairness, if you surround yourself in fire, my guess is you're not going to be much use to them anyway. Now, here's the other thing about the Lemurian race. All of this is why they didn't bother with. They didn't actually have medical doctors, because they had evolved to the point where each and every one of them, if they got hurt, they could read and they could regenerate their own bodies. You have the same capacity. Okay. You yourself, and I don't care which one of you I'm talking to, you all have the same capacity to accelerate your own healing. Okay. Absolutely. Phil's just saying, stay away from fire when overstressed. I will have to take your word for that one, Black. Black Dragon is just saying Taco Bell and White Castles will stop any being. I'm not, like, I've tried Taco Bell and wasn't overly impressed. White Castles I've never even heard of, but that could be a States thing or something. Okay. Yeah, from my standpoint, boils down to this. We have a society here that can be turned around. Okay. And I mean, the varieties of people on this planet are just absolutely incredible. But we got to realize that each and every one of you is just as valuable as the next one in line. Okay. But if we keep buying into the segregation idea, into, oh, this makes you different, this makes you better than the next person. If we keep buying into these teachings, society is going to do the same thing it did in ancient Rome. It's going to have the same problem that the monarchies ran into. Okay, where society will devolve into absolute chaos. Personally, I don't feel like straightening it out again. So, if push comes to shove, somebody want to tell the powers that be, well, they already know where I am, so just petition that they drop a nuke right on me. Okay, I just don't feel like living through it, and the odds are I will anyway. But, that's what we're looking at with Lemurians. And again, this information is stuff that's being added to the books as I go along. The sad reality of it there, Raymond, is that most of the people, they say the best people to put in a position of power are the ones that don't want it. Okay. But there are two different ways they can do that. I've seen people get put into a position of power that they didn't want to deal with things. So instead of dealing with anything, they took all that power and went to play golf and left everything set. Your better option is finding somebody that will delegate power to other people to bring about a much more a much more balanced approach to life. The only reason I look at myself as a leader is because I make a terrible follower. I've had people go, you got to do it this way. I'm going like, no, I really don't. I remember telling the first boss I ever had outside of the house, my first professional job. Okay. I turned around and told my boss and his supervisor flat out, I said, when you two grow up and can get along, talk to me. Until then, I'm making my own rules. Now, apparently this is not a good idea, but I didn't get fired, so I can work with it. Even when I went up, when I was dealing with the Strazazian royalty, and I literally, and this was really, to say the least, an insult, they were going to let their ships collapse into the black hole. And I just looked at them and went, look, if you guys are too afraid to go and get your own people back, just, I'll go and deal with it and be done with it. You know, and no, I do not expect people to believe that occurred. I'm not about to prove it. I don't have photographs. I certainly do not have the wherewithal to go, hey, can you come down and pick one of these people up and show them what's real? Because half of the people out there now will tell you it was great Hollywood makeup. Absolutely brilliant. Okay. And this is why I tell people I'm not here to prove what I'm looking at, just to give you a different perspective on what you might be able to do with your own life. Okay. But it is up to you to make the change. Just glancing over here to make sure I'm on track with things. Got a whole pile of stuff I'm working on. And we will have to deal with that. But all in all, guys, we have a world here that is ours for the molding. Okay. It's not dictated categorically by the governments, by the elites, by the religious community. It is in your hands to change things around and to start doing what feels right from your perspective. Just remember 3 karmic laws. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Okay, if you follow those 3 karmic laws, you won't have a problem to speak of. Now, it doesn't guarantee your entire world will go well, but it does tell you, it does stack the deck in favor of it going better. Now, what am I looking at here? Yeah, absolutely, Nathan. And this is why I said you've got one major project on the go. I've already got one lined up for you that you can work on after the fact, but we'll wait until you get this wonderful little, and I forget what it's called, so you're gonna have to forgive me on that one. But this one little craft that you're in the middle of building. I've got another one lined up that you can have all kinds of fun with. Neat part about it is I've got the schematics here. I've got no idea how to do the Terran technological thing. But the reality of it is this. Okay, and ultimately this applies to every one of you. When your mind can conceive it and your heart can believe it, then you can achieve it. Now, this is a simple rhyme. And actually, it wouldn't be a bad one to pop in there, so we'll deal with that, but not just yet. Okay. The reality of it is, I understand the issue of the delays. Let's face it. I should have had almost a year ago. I should have had both Races of the Worlds, the second printing, and Return to Paradise already out almost a year ago. Okay, but with that in mind, it was literally your guys' input and your guys' encouragement that stopped me from shutting down the show altogether. Okay, and now it's a case of getting on, of starting to put out the word, and I keep saying I've got to start doing it. If I don't start posting that I'd like to get onto these shows to discuss my books, I'm not going to get the visibility necessary. Okay. So, of course, the ones I'm looking at to start with, let's do it this way. These are, fell over, died. This one would be the big one. Oh. Apparently we cannot type. This one, needless to say, is one of the books. Then we have this one. And the third one, of course, is this. These are not the only ones that got out. No, like I said, I've got 8 already. Nathan, that would really be appreciated. Ultimately, that is exactly the case there, Black Dragon. You simply have to believe it's possible. As my brother used to say, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, in either event, you are likely to prove yourself correct. We have a munchkin outside that is not apparently happy. Now, where are we here? Now, I gotta take a half-minute break because, well, they created these things with not quite enough room. Wouldn't it be nice if I could get these guys to actually bring my coffee for me? Okay, we're gonna fall down. Okay, we will be right back. Okay, and we are back. Everybody has their priorities. My priorities are my kids, actually. Secondary is my coffee. Well, priority is actually me first. And in all fairness, that should be the same for every one of you. This is why that neat little karmic law applies to everybody. Be true to yourself first. This is just the reality behind life. Now let us hit refresh just because I'm nosy. So we are looking. This is why I decided I was going to start with the Lemurian Empire. Now, before I go any further here, let us see here. Get that out of my way. That's today. Oh, there we are. Oh, now tomorrow, as we've discussed, on That's excellent, Joe. I'm glad you're keeping that together. Remember, with that dream journal, remember to mark down the date and the date that you had the dream. Okay. If you can get the time, this is great. If not, don't worry about it. The date is critical because that will help you track when you're having repeated ones. Now, tomorrow, we're going to be, as we discussed, Tuesdays we're looking at the gaming world. Okay, Dungeons and Dragons in various different forms. Okay, but tomorrow we're going to tangle with the origin of gaming, a new perspective. Okay, and again, this boils down to just looking at the predecessor to what gaming used to be. Okay, and look at how it got to where it is. Because I will tell you this, for those of you that think you have trouble with your imagination, I will tell you gaming is a phenomenal way to build it. You know, it's a phenomenal way to open new doors and take a look at where the reality is and what you can do. And for those of you that were asking, yes, I have started writing a book that is a play. It's a I forget what the term was, but where you will get options, you'll get a starting point, and you will get options on on what you do from there. Okay, and based on your choices, will determine how the story unfolds. Whether you and the way I'm just thinking whether you become an individual, just an independent individual, whether you become a world-renowned, a hero, as it were, or a villain. Okay, you'll be given when I write this out, you'll be given a starting point. Here's the attributes you have. Here are the options that you've got available. Okay, it's going to take me a little while to put it together, but I came to the conclusion. Somebody asked about doing one like that, and I figured, those books used to be an absolute riot. They were the predecessor to online gaming. Absolutely correct there, Philip. Absolutely. They called it different things, but ultimately is what it boiled down to. I mean, people my age would remember this all too well. You grab a stick and you run around pointing at people going bang, 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 and then one of you would fall dead. This was role-playing early on, but we will get into that tomorrow. Okay, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole too terribly far. But what I haven't figured out is how to go about doing that. I haven't figured out how to bring it online. At this point, it's just going to be in book form. Okay, simply because it's an easy way to do it. Easy from my standpoint. From yours, maybe not so. Lone Wanderers, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Hopefully your day has gone well. When we look at the Lemurians or any of the other races that we know about, okay, you got to remember they've had their troubles in the past, and this is where they've evolved to. Okay, mankind is going through its problems right now, and from a xeno-socioeconomic standpoint, this is a phenomenally exciting period. Okay, and it really is one of these things that's going to come about in a positive fashion. Or at least, if I have anything to say about it, I'm asking for your guys' assistance to make this happen. Okay, and that really boils down to this. If you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up, do subscribe to the channel, and then share the daylights out of it. Okay, these are just ways that you can help. What have we got? Lone Wanderer is going, it was very rough today. I've never really been affected by 9/11, but it was today. One thing that may help you, you're more than welcome there, Raymond. One thing that may help you, Lone Wanderer, is to realize one thing. Yes, it was, 9/11 was a horrendous thing. I'm not going into debating exactly how that went about, but I will tell you this: every single day, people die, loved ones are lost. It's a rough one for people all the time. 9/11 just happened to be very worldwide, very definitely broadcast worldwide. Now you get to figure out where you stand on it. From my standpoint, I still feel for the people left behind. There's a part of me that envies the ones that got across. Of course, in all fairness, I've been over there, and it really isn't as much as you might think. What do we got here? Philip is going, if the xenomorphs show up, it'll be an exciting horror movie. Absolutely. And yes, what I actually said there, Philip, was a xenosocioeconomic evolution. Okay, meaning society has reached a point. Okay, now humans see humans as the primary, but humans are a xenoform from of other races. A Strazazian does not see a human as a primary race. They are in a lot of ways an inferior, but definitely an infantile race. For me personally, Lone Wanderer, my day's not been going bad. It started off on a really rough run. Gee, I hear that from a lot of people. I do feel for you there, Lone. Okay. One thing I will tell you, regardless of what the doctors tell you, or in addition to what the doctors tell you, understand your body already knows what's wrong. And and I don't know if you've heard of this before, okay. Yeah, I'll get to that in a sec. If you look at it this way, keep one thought in your head: heal. You don't personally need to know what human doctors are saying as far as what's wrong with you. Your body already knows. And with that in mind, your body can heal it. It just needs to be told to do so. If you buy into the idea that until you know exactly what caused it, it won't heal, then you are setting yourself up for a problem. Now, do understand, when I'm talking about self-healing, I am referring to a technique used in conjunction with modern methods. One thing to do, in case you haven't seen this before, and there's other people that are listening in, this will be the first time they see it anyway. Lone Wanderer, take your hands, and you can do this while you're listening. Okay, take your hands, put them palms towards each other, a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch apart. You'll feel some sort of energy between them. Okay, in all likelihood. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly how to phrase it. I've heard it described in 6 or 7 different fashions. But that energy is what we're referring to. Concentrate on that energy with one word in your mind: heal. That will accelerate the energetic healing of your corporeal form. But this is done in conjunction with what you're getting from the doctors. Okay, I'm not one to tell you to walk away from the doctors. I am one to say I won't go. But that's me personally. I've told my own boys, if I'm not unconscious, I'm not going to the doctor. Just get over it. I'm just looking at this. The nice part about it, when we look at what the Lemurians had, they had the ability to heal like that. Now, picture what would have happened in a war if everybody had the ability to instantaneously heal. That war is going to go on forever. And frankly, it would stop because of boredom more than anything else. Oh, Philip, you're a young sprog. But happy birthday to you nonetheless. Just remember, the thing I look at with birthdays is this. Every single individual has only one birthday. Almost everyone. Okay. You've got one birthday. The rest of them are celebrating your birthday. Okay. It's celebrating the anniversary. Derek, we're not, and I can only speak on my behalf, but I'm certainly not going to stop sending the healing energy that I can. Okay. We're not going to leave her sit in that state that she's currently in. And thank you so much for the update there, Derek. I do appreciate it. I mean, let's face it, Derek, you've had your hands full. And I've always held family first. Okay, this is why, if I run into a stank that I gotta go and deal with something, I'm on air. It's like I got my family to deal with. Sorry, they get first billing. For me, it's that simple. Okay, but one of the big things that you have to remember is, on top of being true to yourself first, okay, you have to realize that is in conjunction with do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, and energy out, energy in. Okay, because they all work together. It's kind of like the three legs on a three-legged stool. Each one of them is just as important as the other. I am, on a personal note there, Derek, I am looking forward to hearing how you like the birth of the wolf pack thus far. Just because of the fact, well, it's always nice to get feedback as you go along. But I am looking at this world and going, okay, where do we go from here? Are we going to continue walking down the shadow path we've started down that our so-called leaders are guiding us towards? And when I talk about so-called leaders, your politicians, your religious or spiritual guides, the ones that are telling you you're going to die. We've got this shortage. There's this fear-based thing going on. There's that fear-based thing going on. Yes, bad things happen to good people. But I appreciate that, Derek. Chapter 10. I'd have to look and find out what chapter that is. But Clay, here's an interesting little... Oh, that was almost an afterthought. But where are we? How far into the birth pack? If you're on chapter 10, let me just see. I wonder. Might be able to tell you. Where is my book? I just need to look at the actual list. I should have done it the other way. If you're on chapter 10, oh, there we go. You're at the tower in 10, you're at, where are we? War declared. Should be coming up pretty quick, but let me pull that up. I've got the soft copy. It's easier to find things that way. Book 10. Let us see. If we go... There we are. What page is that? Just gotta track 145. Where that gets explained, Derek. Spoiler alert. Where are we here? Spoiler alert, you got about 20 pages left ish, depending on where you are. That's 20 from the start of book 10 where you find out about that little issue. But like I said, that's what's called a spoiler alert. No, I'm not going to tell you how it comes about. Sorry, you're going to have to work on that one. But the nice little part about it, the nice little part about it, and this is why I tell people, if you're going to do something, pick something you enjoy. Because I will tell you, I wouldn't write as much as I do if I didn't enjoy it. If I didn't have such an incredible group of people in the chat or in this live stream, I probably would have stopped doing it. Because there was a period about a year ago where I really looked at it going, is it really helping? But enough of you contacted me either right here or through emails and what have you, stating it was helping. Net result, I worked through it and here I am. Now you're stuck with me until who knows when. But the fact is I'm not dead yet, so what the heck? The reality is I can see, I can hide from the world. I did it for 50 years. So, well, yeah, really, I did it for about 50 years. As soon as my higher senses kicked in and the public found out about it, my life was, shall we politely say, complicated. So ultimately, what you're looking at this point, we all have abilities, we all have strengths, and everybody's got weaknesses. Fortunately, in this stream, I see a lot of support going on back and forth. A phenomenal amount of it. To the point that I remember a few months back, we had somebody come in and the first words out of their mouth was, "What a bunch of trolls," because I saw this communication going back and forth. I'm like, this is not troll work. This is people caring about each other. This is precisely what I came back to pass on. To get people to help each other. You guys have been doing a phenomenal job of this. So, I'm looking right now. Let's just take a peek at this. Tomorrow we're looking at the origin of gaming, a new perspective. On Wednesday, we'll be dealing with the plan. Okay, the plan being how to really organize your thoughts and or actions towards making yourself a future that you are content with. Never mind what anybody else is content with. Okay. Now, and of course, this is the only one of next week that I'm bothering with. Just to give you a little bit of a heads up. On Friday, we're going to be taking a look at the nature of the paranormal from my perspective. Okay. These are just topics that have come up, but if you guys have a topic that you're interested in, I've got my next month laid out. There's no problem there. I won't have that problem again. But if you guys have a topic or an issue that you'd like to look at, absolutely let me know. Philip, you're asking, did anyone ever try to get you to see an exorcist? Oh, heavens, they tried some incredible things. The answer is yes, but, quite frankly, because of the fact I grew up Protestant and Dad's worry for me was I had no fear of the metaphysical. Did I end up seeing a shrink for years? The answer is yes. That one, I don't have it listed, but I will absolutely do that. Where are we? You'll be happy to know, Derek, that throughout the Yldrbac Chronicles, you'll actually find out about that firsthand. But I am marking down the fact that you'd like that the dwarves are an issue. Okay. Where is this? That's alien dwarves fall under. They fall under gaming. See, that's one of those deep topics I can put into a number of different places. But in the next week or so, and I'll let you know when. I do not know what Gontielgrim is. And that's what you typed. I know that's what it was supposed to be. But unfortunately, Derek, that one I don't recognize the name. Oh. No, normal shrink. Sorry. Psychiatrist. Correction. Probably psychologist, because he never did actually order any. He didn't get me on any medication. Oh, that one we will definitely deal with. Now, the 18th, that falls on a Monday there. Lone Wanderer. That falls on a Monday. And this is why I don't go too far ahead. But you can bet your bottom dollar. Oh, and that answers that question there, Derek. Yeah, you'll like those. Lone Wanderer. And I'm writing it into my calendar now because it's not going to go on the 18th. But I will move it here on. Where are we? Where did we go here? The Norse gods. Those are aliens. So that will be. And this is where it gets a little bit screwy. Okay. But tentatively, we're looking at the 25th of the month. Because I've already got things locked in. And I don't want to be booking 17 months down the road. Right. I've got enough to cover that far. Well, no, I've got enough to cover 2 months down the road. But I've already made a commitment to myself that once I've got a topic locked in, I will bounce it 1 week. But I won't bounce it a second one if I can avoid it. So where it comes to the Norse gods and what happened to them, I will absolutely go into that. But that'll be on the 25th. That should help there. Okay. And yes, I will absolutely be more reminding people that's what's getting dealt with. But because what I do is I lock a week down. And if I have to if I've got to move a topic by a week, it gets locked in for the next week. And then I just carry on with the list I've already got. So I'm always aware of where I'm standing. Okay. Now, and of course we're looking at the drow here. And Derek's asking about the drow elf. Okay. And again, just to be clear, okay, in the Yldrbac Chronicles, I have changed the names of many of the creatures. Because a lot of the stuff, as I've talked to you guys before, I'm either bringing it out, I'm bringing it out of personal experience, but the story itself has been used. I've used a lot of the gaming knowledge I've got to bring in different races I know of, but I am changing the names of the races simply because I'm not going into a copyright fight with anybody. So if I come up with my own race names, okay, where it comes to critters out of D&D, or that you recognize out of D&D, okay, I'm not getting into that. Where it comes to the alien races, sorry guys, those aren't copyright issues. Those are ones that I've already been told firsthand, and you can take that and believe it or not. Philip goes, I hide from people, but I'm no Norse god. I remember one guy years ago he was one of these real big, powerfully built, muscle heads. Okay, but he was so full of himself, and he was walking around the bar, showing off his biceps and going, "Oh, look at me! I'm so powerful! I'm so strong! I'm so much better than you weaklings!" And I looked at the guy. I finally got fed up with it. I looked at him and I says, "Hold up! I was dressed something similar to this, but I wasn't, in all fairness, in as good a shape." You take care, Tracy B. Glad you could join us. I turned around, I looked at the guy and I says, I said, "I'll have you know I've got the body of a god under this shirt." And I was not in as good a shape as I am now. And the guy looks at me and goes, "You have the body of a god?" I looked at him and dead serious. I says, "Yeah, they call him Buddha." Well, the guy just all of a sudden shut down. Oh, no, Lone Wanderer, don't get me wrong. This is how I operate. If somebody says this is the topic I'd like to say, I'd like to look at, I do what I can to accommodate it in as near in the future as I can get away with. So, I mean, from that standpoint, this is no imposition at all on my part. This is just making it easier for me to schedule things. Now, with that in mind, let's see, where are we here? With that in mind, guys, we are over the 2-hour mark. So I am going to be bringing this to a close. Again, thank you so much for sharing your time with me. I really do appreciate it. It's because of this kind of interaction I get from you guys that I've actually been able to stay put, stay doing the show. And for the foreseeable future, it's just going to continue. Where are we here? Yeah, that's just it there, Philip. I mean, I'm getting in better shape, but I'm doing it for me. But these people that, the one thing I found is the steroid people are a real big problem because they get great big puffy muscles. And I've seen this even according to the weightlifters. People on steroids that get big looking muscles with no substance to them. Myself, if I wanted to look at that, and you really don't want to, my stomach is not what I desire it to be. But at least I'm not packing a basketball around with me anymore. Okay, but I do want to say thank you so much for sharing your time with me. I will be back again tomorrow. And tomorrow we're going to be looking at the origin of gaming, a new perspective. And I hope to see you there. Okay. Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.